Welcome to Cape Ann TV's live coverage of Election Night 2017. We're here in beautiful downtown Gloucester at City Hall. I'm Maureen Aylward, your host, and thanks for tuning in. I'm sitting here with Meredith Fine, my co-host for this election coverage. Meredith?
Hi, Maureen.
It's a fun night.
It is a fun night. Hi, everybody. This is my sixth time helping to host the live election night coverage from City Hall. And as always, it's an interesting night. So crack open a Dr. Pepper and another bag of Cheetos and let's go. We have some results already from some of the contested races. In particular in Ward 2, where Ken Hecht and Joe Giglone were fighting a spirited campaign to replace Melissa Cox. The preliminary unofficial results show that Ken Hecht has won the ward, 58% to 41%. Again, those results are unofficial, but that is what is being posted here at City Hall. The other contested race is for the City Council at-large seats. There are 4 at-large seats on the City Council representing the entire city, and 7 people running. Right now, we have 7 of the 10 precincts around the city have reported their results so far. And it looks like that Melissa Cox is so far topping the ticket, followed by Jen Holmgren, a newcomer to Gloucester politics, but a native of the city, a 4th generation Gloucester resident. And then it looks like Paul Lundberg is also doing very well. He's an incumbent. And then the rest of them, it's unclear. There's only a few percentage points, Maureen, separating these at-large candidates. So we're still waiting for, now at this point, Ward 1, which is East Gloucester, to come in, and that's what will decide the at-large race. So those are the results that we have so far in the contested races. I should say that Mayor Safathio Romeo-Taken also does have a challenger, something of a not much of a race, I have to say, and so far she's winning with 87% of the vote.
Oh dear.
So I don't think that that's going to be a late night waiting for that result. But so that's where the results stand right now. Let me throw it down to the floor to our inimitable, the great Heidi Dahlin, our floor correspondent for tonight's coverage. Heidi, are you with us?
Hey Meredith, how are you? I'm down here on the floor of City Hall where all the action is, and we have a great crowd out here today, and as you so perfectly announced some of the incoming results, they're all crowded around watching the results, and I'm going to have some interviews down here as people stroll by. I will get some of the major players in Gloucester politics down here to tell us their feelings about the election and what they plan for the rest of for Gloucester for the rest of their term. So pop some popcorn. You don't need to go out. You can stay in tonight, and we will take care of you here at Cape Ann TV. You'll know everything that's going on in Gloucester.
Well, I don't know if we want to tell everybody everything that's going on in Gloucester, but Heidi makes an excellent point.
That's funny. Well, I can say that we don't have the Celtics or the Bruins to worry about tonight. So everybody's going to be tuning into to Channel 12 to watch the election results. Absolutely.
So why don't we talk for a minute while we're still waiting for Ward 1 to come in about some of the things that made this year's election interesting.
Yes.
And different.
Yep.
It was a relatively sleepy election compared with 2 years ago, when there was a hot race for mayor at the top of the ticket.
Right.
There was a ballot question about fluoride, which drew a lot of people out. The city council turned over, a majority of the city council was new, and there was heated races in virtually every ward except for Ward 2. And so 2 years ago, it was a very energetic, hard-fought campaign.
True.
This year, not so much, and yet there were some very interesting trends to discuss.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those trends. Meredith, what have you identified this year that's a little bit different than a couple years ago?
Well, the growing role of Facebook is very interesting. There's a parallel universe going on in the Facebook world where a lot is happening. And as the role of the Gloucester Times has changed and perhaps reduced a bit, the role of Facebook has come up. And
social media in general.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 2 years ago, Mayor Romeo Taken used Facebook very wisely and very effectively. This year was kind of the Wild West out there. There were city councilors giving endorsements to each other.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was a little bit different this year.
It was. And
What's behind that whole thing? I don't want to go away from Facebook and other social media influence here in this election, but I want to touch on that because I thought that was interesting.
Well, in particular, I was interested in the role of Ward 3 Councillor Steve LeBlanc because you could see that Steve was very actively trying to build a majority on the council. Steve was unopposed. Mm-hmm. He's the Ward 3 councillor. Mm-hmm. Ward 3 is in a kind of an interesting location. It's sort of the ward that was left over after all the other wards were created. So it covers this weird expanse from the hospital to the boulevard.
Yep.
But Mr. LeBlanc very actively endorsed Sean Nolan from Ward 5, who was unopposed, Joe Orlando. Oh, you know what? Speaking of Joe Orlando, we have the final results from Ward 1 in here. So I'm going to interrupt myself.
And please do so. You've got the results in front of you. And that takes precedence over any conversation.
So these are the unofficial results for Councillor at Large. It appears that Melissa Cox came in first. She is the current Ward 2 councillor seeking to move up to an at-large seat.
And you know the
and then coming in second, it appears the Jen Holmgren, who, as I said, is a newcomer to Gloucester politics, but has worked extremely hard.
So Meredith, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we actually do have Melissa Cox on the floor with Heidi.
Heidi, why don't you go right ahead?
I do. I have Melissa Cox right here, the lady of the hour. Here she is. Melissa, how does it feel to be topping the ticket for for Councillor at Large?
I'm blown away by the support and the love. It's been an amazing election, and I am just excited. I just wanted to be in the top 4, to be number 1. I can't even tell you what it means to me. The city of Gloucester has been extremely supportive. So super excited, and good job to all the candidates that ran. Everybody, it's been a very interesting election.
Now, you've worked hard for the city, and people recognize that, shown by the results tonight. What is going to be the difference now that you are not a ward councillor, councillor at large? How are you going to approach things now?
It's going to be a little bit easier to address concerns outside of Ward 2. In the past few years, a lot of people have grown to trust me and rely on me. So I've helped a lot of people, but always looping in the ward councillor because that's just out of respect. That's what you should do. And I'm just excited to represent the entire city. So I'm sorry. I'm still just blown away at getting the top number. It's such a blessing. And, you know, everybody was asking me this morning how I was feeling, and I'm like nervous, scared, and excited. And now I'm just super excited. I'm so happy to be able to represent the entire city. And such a big move from Ward 2 to at large, you know, I'm blessed. I have really good supporters.
Yes, you do. Well, congratulations. The best. I hope in a few years we'll be back here again. Yes. So
looks good.
So great. So thank you.
I have to order more signs.
Oh. Definitely more signs, I think. There'll be a collector's item. Yes. So I'm down here with Melissa Cox, who is currently topping the ticket at Councillor at Large. Congratulations. And now I am going to send it back up onto the stage, and I believe Maureen and Meredith have a guest.
Before we get to the guest, I just want to finish reading the at-large results, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yep. So, as we've just learned, Melissa Cox topped the ticket for the at-large race. Coming in second was, now it looks like Paul Lundberg. Coming in third was Jen Holmgren. And then coming in fourth was Jamie OHara. And and that fourth spot was heavily fought. And so with us now, I'm happy to say, is Ken Hecht, who in January 1st will be sworn in as the Ward 2 Councilor. Congratulations, Ken.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up with us.
No problem.
What do you think was the difference for you tonight?
Well, I've been working on this for a year, so it's many-pronged approach, from knocking on doors to meeting with senior housing to all kinds of coffees and events, and really, I think, talking about a track record of getting things done.
And what are some of your priorities? First of all, describe where Ward 2 is located, if you will.
Well, Ward 2 goes from the Fort up Washington Street to George's, then east to basically the Fuller School and Market Basket, and then south along 128. So it's really the Fort and Washington Street over to the hill.
And what are your priorities for the ward for the next 2 years?
I would say the clearest top priority is affordable housing. That's really what we want to do. And then there's so many priorities on top of that. I can list them if you want, but it's parks.
Give me two more.
Well, Burnham's Field, I'm really trying to get security lighting there. There's just so many things. We got big school things coming up. We got the Fuller project to figure out. We've got I-4C2 to figure out. I've got a due list a mile long of potholes and streets and sidewalks and snowplow and all that kind of stuff. So Ward 2 is an interesting place because it's really two cities. It's downtown in the commercial district and it's the residences. And there are two things that have to be addressed and have to be addressed aggressively and assertively and with planning and goals. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, congratulations, Ken. I'm really pleased for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. I'm going to go take a nap now. All right?
You're going to Stones, I know you are.
We're going to Topside.
There you go.
Then I'm going to take a nap.
Well, Meredith, we've got Heidi down as floor correspondent with Steve LeBlanc.
Hey, here I am with our Ward 3 councilor, Steve LeBlanc. Now, Steve, this was an uncontested race,
Yes.
So I was going to say a little different when we were here a couple of years ago with the hooping and hollering and everything. So tell me about running uncontested. What is that like?
Well, I'm a competitor, for one thing, so I like having a little challenge. I still did what I had to do to get out there to get the votes and the support of my ward. It's nice to be accessible. It's nice to be, an ordinary Joe to as part of the ward. I grew up in my whole life. But it's a shame that there's not a lot of people running for the ward. So I'd like to challenge the city of Gloucester to have the next race not uncontested. We had 4 wards that were unopposed, and I'd like to see a little bit more competition out there to have some people come up. I know there's a lot of bright people out there that can bring some really good ideas to the city. I know I'm one of them. I'm going into my 7th and 8th year. I don't know how many more years I have ahead of me doing this, but I'd like to see a lot more political people come out and join the club to make a difference for your community.
I think you have a few more years left in you. I don't know. I think you have a few more years. And true, competition brings out the best in people, right?
It does. Yes. Like I said, I appreciate the competition. I don't take anything for granted, not one bit. I try to do everything I can for everybody across the board, no matter who you are or what you do. We have good debates. I think this was the best city council that I've sat on in the past several years, just because it's a working class, and also it's, we've had good debates where it's been 5-4, 6-3. It hasn't been status quo, rubber stamping. So I think we have a really good city council that's sitting now, and I'm also looking forward to sitting with the new city councilors coming up. I think it's going to be really good to work with these new people and try to get them on the ground running rather than trying to catch up to speed. I know Jen's been to more meetings than anybody I can, and I'll say that personally. She hasn't been more than me because I've been doing it for a while, but she's been to more meetings this past year than anybody else that I know. And I know Ken's a great guy. He's got a lot of great ideas. I've sat with him a couple of times. I'm looking forward to working with him also. And also my fellow councilors that have been coming back. It's nice to work with them and to build on what we've had the past couple of years.
Well, it's great. You got a great stamp of approval from your ward, uncontested. They like what you're doing. So now you have some more time to make some real change. So best of luck to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Please feel free to reach out, call, text, sit next to me at the restaurant, whatever you need to do. Just, you know, I'm you. I'm a reflection of you. So
Head right down here tonight and ask him. Get him right now. He's here and he's ready. All right, I'm going to throw it back up to the stage to Maureen and Meredith.
Thanks, Heidi. We have more election results to report. Meredith.
Thank you, Maureen. I just wanted to go over some of the other results here. On the school committee, all of the incumbents were returned. There was one challenger there, Scott Adam Chernoff. But all the results, Melissa Teixeira and Jonathan Pope topped the ticket, as they did 2 years ago. I just wanted to note in the at-large race that Joe Orlando Jr. was not reelected, and the city council president, Joe Scialino, was not reelected, and also longtime city clerk and former city councilor Bob Wynot also did not make the cut. So there were some very interesting dynamics in that at-large race.
Well, I would like to talk to you about some of that analysis, but if we have more results?
I just want to mention the incumbents who are reelected, who are unopposed, but who deserve, I think, some mention.
Absolutely.
Scott Memhard in Ward 1 was reelected, unopposed. Steve LeBlanc, who you just saw, was reelected unopposed in Ward 3. Val Gilman up in Lanesville was reelected with 99% of the vote. I'd like to meet
She'll be happy with that.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to the 0.83% who didn't vote for her. And then in Ward 5, Sean Nolan also was reelected with no opposition. And then the final unofficial tally for the mayor's race is Safathia Romeo Taken with 86.5% of the vote, and Francisco Sclafani with 10% of the vote. So those are the results that we have right now. All the wards have reported, and this will be our city council and our school committee and mayor for the next 2 years.
Right, for the next couple of years. Great. Well, we have another person ready to be interviewed with Heidi. We're ready to go down there to talk to Valerie Gilman.
I'm here with the Ward 4 councilor, Val Gilman. Here ran unopposed. So, Val, how does it feel? Here you go.
It feels great. Thank you, Heidi. The last election was very contested, and this year it was really nice just to be able to stay focused on my work and putting in council orders and being excited about things that are going on in the city.
So what are your priorities now that you have this vote of confidence from your ward, ran unopposed? What are your priorities now for your next term?
That's a good question. One of the things that I'm passionate about, because I live in a ward with lots and lots of open space, is that I want to really work hard on coming up with some ordinances for safety and protection of our open space, similar to what we have for parks and beaches. And I think it's also really important that we can look into maybe the connectivity of all the trails that we have. We've spent a lot of CPA funds for a lot of the spots and access points, and now we have to put it all together. And I also am really excited about affordable housing. I want to really work hard on thinking of opportunities in the city for more affordable housing, taking the housing production plan and putting that into goals and zoning amendments that we could be making now proactively, so we can really be prepared when a builder wants to come and maybe put a development downtown. I'm on P&D and I'm excited about those opportunities. So I'd say those are two of my biggest priorities right now, and then just keeping my constituents happy. Between Wheelers Point and Annisquam and Lanesville and Cherry Street and O'Malley, We have quite a diverse group of different kind of clusters in our ward, and there's a lot to be done. So I'm excited and I'm reassured that I did well in my ward in terms of just running unopposed, but a lot of people checked my name, and I do appreciate that because I'm looking forward. It's a privilege to serve the 4,800 people from my ward. So.
Great. Well, congratulations, and here's to another successful, great term and taking care of your ward. So thanks, Val.
Thank you, Heidi.
I'm going to send it back up to the stage to Meredith and Maureen.
Thanks, Heidi. Following on what Valerie Gilman just said, the affordable housing issue, Meredith, why don't you talk to that, because it's such an issue right now and we're in desperate need of housing up here. There's so many elements to it. Lend your expertise.
I don't know if I have expertise except that I have to afford my own house.
As we do, all of us.
You know, I think that there's a growing consensus, a strong consensus across the city that affordable housing is becoming increasingly almost a crisis. And in the last debate that the Chamber of Commerce sponsored, the mayor made a point of saying that her top 3 issues were housing, housing, housing. And that I happen to agree with that. The city has produced this Gloucester Housing Production Plan, which is available on the city's website. And it has some really interesting statistics
Well, we have the mayor coming up. Speaking of the mayor, we might as well have her here sit with us. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
My pink hat.
What does your hat say?
Well, it says Sabathia Mayo Taken, but it's pink.
Does the pink have any special meaning?
Absolutely. Everyone who loves pink hats knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, all right. Congratulations.
Thank you. You look lovely.
Well, thank you very much. So do you.
Thank you.
It took a village to do this. So I want to thank Felicia Shortino for our 2 hours of work, but thank you. So what are your plans for the next 2 years?
Well, we're going to continue the work we're doing. We have a lot that we started. And we have a great team in place. It's not like I'm finally, because every administration has their own team, and it takes time to mold the team as far as who you want. And we have a great team. I mean, we just hired a great community developer, Jill. I mean, people, no offense, yes, women in power, but it's great that, women are coming up and stepping up for really good positions, and we got a great Board of Health director. We're all working together. It's like it's just, tonight I was with half of them and they were going like, this is just great teamwork. And so, we have them looking at climate change. We got a grant that we need to really study that. I know a lot of people don't believe it, or some do, some don't. We're an island, honey. We're going under if we don't do something. And so in the economic development, we still need to continue that. We need to reach out to people, and most of the ones we reached out to, it's housing. And it's not just affordable housing that's needed, it's all housing.
We were just talking about this plan, the Gloucester Housing Production Plan, which is a tremendous...
It really is. And you know what? And that's why I tried people, because what people think is affordable is not affordable to all. So you need regular housing, affordable housing, senior housing, your veterans housing, and low income. Now, I'm not Section 8 low income, but low income, where it goes the 40B, like the Camerons, is actually a friendly 40B. So you don't have to be afraid of that anymore if we embrace it and work with it, because it can happen, and that's what I want to continue.
So what can the city do to help?
What we need to do is, as far as the affordable housing, it's kind of hard. You really can't. The city itself, have to find out what people want, where they can build it, where they can do it. And so what we're doing too is now we're looking at some of the houses. We're not good landlords, so some of the tax titles that we're taking, we would like to get a developer and say, look, make it affordable housing and you can have it at that cost. So it doesn't have to be like 10 apartments, it could be duplexes or one family. We need to do that, and we really need to study what we have and what property we have as open space, where we're going to keep open space, because we don't want to build every little place we have either.
Now, one thing that's been striking about your administration is your ability to live within your budget.
That's been great. I mean, that really has.
It's underappreciated how hard that is to do.
You know what? Let me tell you something, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's done. You know what? It's not. But the fact is, Gloucester has more debt than Salem, Beverly, and Peabody put together. They each have 60. We have 180. 3 times.
180
million
million
in debt. So that's it. So, but I can't just thank my administration, and I thank the employees too, because when we came out now, we're doing contracts and we're working together. You know, the police department, the officers stepped up. They really did, you know. Everyone's saying, oh, it's the police departments, you know. I don't care. I can't do one-time money. I can't do it this way. We finally have a plan now that we have a structure of what we're separating, so if we have to borrow money, we have that. You know, it wasn't planned that I know the sky's falling in, that they should say, but the roof at the high school is being repaired, and we had that because we had that in our fund. We had this 3 stages, which is great, and we need to continue.
So this was a different election for you than other elections that you've had, because you were sort of opposed and sort of not opposed. I can say that.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything from this election? I mean, was it...
Well, I took it seriously because you just never know. Because there's always rumors there. What happens if she dies? Please.
Oh.
You know, what happens if I die? Well, guess what? Then you do the same thing when Carolyn left. There's an interim, and then you have a special election. So don't wish it. I said the same thing. I said, well, what happens if I die? I'm not going to make any trips until I get sworn in.
People really said
it was on social media. Social media, as you all know, I love social media. It can be good and bad. It was out there. It was out there. I mean, Jim Destino today got a knock on his door that someone says, you know, we're going to do write-in, and I won, and they said, well, you're not even a Gloucester resident. Well, I will be tomorrow after I win. You know, that's okay. I don't expect everyone to like me, and it's kind of hard. See, I was a city councilor for all those years, and yes, I was a jokester, and I was different, and I had to prove myself. You shouldn't have to, but I had to, because you were used to me in one way, and then now they have to get used to me in another way, and it's kind of difficult because they're saying, well, where'd she go? I'm still here. It's just that when I used to represent the Addison Gilbert Hospital across that bridge in the State House in Boston all the time, no one knew me as the godmother. No one knew me as the city council. They knew me as a liaison for the Addison Gilbert Hospital. Bruce Tarr used to come to the meetings and he used to say to his aide, where's Ferrante? She's right there. Well, she's quiet. Of course. Of course. And it's changed, and we're doing that. But see, what's great is that I can walk in City Hall and I know everyone's name. Do you know there were even city councilors in the past city council administration that never been in the mayor's office? I have monthly meetings with my city council. I set up with my Joe Shalino once a month. You choose to come, you can come. Every week, actually, and whenever you want to come, you want to come.
Can we talk just for a second about the change on the city
Yes.
council? And how does the mayor explain to the folks at home how the mayor and the city council work together?
You're as good as your city council. You really are. Just like I tell people, you know what? Number 45 is there, whatever, but we got to make sure who's, you know, the Senate and Congress, because they're the ones who vote. Yes, I can veto certain things. I did my first veto, but you're as good as your city council. And working with them, and it's so crucial, people, to have a city council president who's going to help the new people that come in, to train them and do workshops and do things, because it's not easy. And the first thing we're going to tell them is never make up your mind until you hear the whole story. Never say you're going to vote one way until you hear a hearing, because you can always change your mind. You know, work with the people, work with your ward, especially the ones at large. The ward councilors already, some of them are there except for Ward 2. So the at-large is not to replace the ward council, it's to coexist with the ward councilors. So you can educate your at-large to help that go. So they have to understand that, because there was a little controversy here and there and stuff. It was a difficult past 2 years, I'm going to be honest. Not from my administration. It was difficult. We had new ones coming in. It was difficult, and by the time you train someone, and by the time we all learn each other, it's election year, and then now it's new ones, and that's okay, because that's what the people want. And you know what? I'm looking at, and I'm not complaining about anyone that's there, because I've worked with OHara, I've worked with Lumberg, I've worked with Cox. I love Jen. You know, so I mean, it's sad to see some of them go, but the fact is, I'm looking forward to working with all of them.
Is there anything briefly that you'd like to say to the folks at home?
Excuse my appearance, I didn't do 2 hours with Felicia. I was out in the polls. But what I really like to say is that we're going to continue that relationship of having an open door policy. That's very crucial, because I learned so much from all of you. It's not going to change. We're going to have an open door policy. I meet monthly with different people to learn things and what's out there, because you know what? It's you, the community, that's going to work with the city council, work with the mayor's office to achieve what we need to achieve. I'd rather work with you and have someone accomplish something than work against you and have 5 years of litigation. So we're going to move Gloucester forward together, and that's my motto, and that's going to be that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming
Nice
up
seeing you.
tonight.
You look
so
lovely.
busy.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Safatia. We're going back to the floor with Heidi has Kathleen Clancy.
Hey, here we are. I am here with Kathy Clancy, a reigning member of our school committee. So Kathy, congratulations. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great to get another term on the school committee. I'm very excited.
So tell me, what are your priorities now moving forward?
Well, the priorities continue to be making sure every kid is engaged and challenged and has multiple opportunities so they can find what their passion is, what their potential is. So between adding music in the day at the middle school last year and expanding STEM programs at the middle and high school and all the other things we offer, there's just always something for everyone, but we know we can continue to kind of beef everything up.
Well, great. It's a great vote of confidence. The city loves having you on our school committee, and I see you at all the events at all the schools, so you're really involved. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And my 8th grader is not here tonight. He's home because he's sleeping, but we continue to love Gloucester Public Schools, and we'll keep moving it forward.
Well, he works so hard in the Gloucester Public Schools, he needs his sleep, right?
He needs his sleep. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
All right, so I'm going to throw it back upstairs to Meredith and Maureen.
Thanks, Heidi, and congratulations, Kathy. Meredith, let's do just one more wrap-up for the viewers who are just tuning in about who won.
I'll just do a quick mention in the contested races. In Ward 2, Ken Hecht has defeated Joe Gigaloni 58% to 41%. And in the City Council at Large race, heavily contested, Melissa Cox, Jamie OHara, Paul Lundberg, and the newest City Councilor on my left here, Jen Holmgren. Congratulations, Jen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith.
So
Thank you.
So what did you learn from all of this?
I learned that there are people all over the city who are willing to step up to the plate and help a good candidate, and I was very fortunate to be in the company of 6 other tremendously qualified candidates. I am incredibly grateful that so many people put their faith in me, and I am very excited to get to work as a counselor at large. So I want to thank you all very, very much.
And what are some of your priorities coming into your term here?
Well, I'm definitely going to work on workforce and affordable housing. Those are very important to me. I want to work on economic development. As I have said before, housing and economic development really go hand in hand. I'd like to take a look at the city's master plan and our housing plan and see how we can take a look.
One of the things that I was struck by, if our viewers don't mind a statistic or two, is that the average family income is $61,000, but you need to make $100,000 to afford the average house in Gloucester. And right there, to me, is the major part of the problem, is that people in Gloucester don't make enough to afford the average house that's now on the market.
That's right.
Do you have any thoughts about, I'm not asking you to solve that problem here tonight, but I know it's something you've put a lot of thought into. What kinds of things can a city council do about that kind of problem?
Oh, certainly. We need to attract good businesses to Gloucester, businesses who will help employ people full-time with benefits. That would be really great. We need to foster the businesses that we have here. We need to foster innovative businesses, biotech, tech manufacturing. Telecommuting is a big thing here to make it economically feasible for people to afford average-priced homes.
Right, absolutely. And what are some of the other things that you hope to work on besides economic development and affordable housing?
I would love to work on public health. I'm a registered nurse. I would really like to sink my teeth into that. We have an opiate crisis going on in this country, and certainly I am familiar with it. Unfortunately, as a lot of people in Gloucester are, but I understand those issues and all of the different nuances that go along with that, and I am very eager to take a bite out of that as well.
So what made you run for city council? At what point does somebody wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I think I'll run for city. I think I'll go to 79 community meetings and run for city council.
I have. I've gone to 79 community meetings since February of 2016.
Live to tell the tale.
That's right. I've really tried to do my homework. What the catalyst for me was really our daughter. My husband and I are from Gloucester, and we've spent most of our lives here. Our families are from here. Mine especially has been here for over 100 years. The city has been very good to the both of us. And we have our 7-year-old daughter, Lizzie, who goes to West Parish. She's in our school system. We're proud to have her enrolled in Gloucester Public Schools. And I want to make sure that this community stays solvent for her and for all of her friends.
Well, we're lucky to have you. Congratulations. Real
Thank you
happy
very
for
much.
you.
It's my pleasure.
Go enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Maureen, back to you.
Congratulations, Jen. Congratulations. I guess we have Heidi. We're going back to you with Joe Gigloni.
Here I am with Joe Gigloni, the Ward 2 candidate, which unfortunately did not work out so well for you tonight, Joe. But tell me, how do you feel? Better luck next year? You going to come back?
Well, I think, yes, absolutely, I'll be back. 2 years ago, you and I sat here in the same interview when I came up short on the at-large race. I told you I was going to stay involved and be back in 2 years. I was, and I'm going to tell you the same thing tonight. I love my city, I love my ward, and I love my neighborhood, and I'll always fight for it.
Good. Best of luck. That's a terrific attitude. And, I mean, we had other councilors here saying that we need the competition. It brings out the best in people. Thank you for stepping up and being a great citizen of Gloucester.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
All right, here we go. Back up to Maureen up on the stage.
Thanks, Heidi. It's wonderful to hear from all different candidates. And Meredith, I guess we have Paul Lundberg walking up to sit with us to have a conversation.
Do.
Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Congratulations.
Hello. Very good.
How
Thank
you
you.
doing?
Doing well, thank you.
So you did real well. You must be
I
pleased.
did real well. Yes,
Yeah?
I am very pleased. You know, it's really, it's not a cliche to say that it's the wisdom of the voters that in the end wins out. And, you know, you can speculate all you want, especially in a local race, but there are no polls, there's none of that stuff. You just kind of have to get the sense of the community and then hope for the best.
And how does somebody run at large across the whole city? I mean, you can't possibly knock on every single door.
Well, not all at once. That's true. But over the last couple of, I have now been to most every door. This is my third election, so I've been, fairly methodical and, going to the doors in the precincts and wards where I had the hardest struggle, and worked on them, and then of course going to some of the places where I have a big supporters, and see them too. But you can't do it. You're right. You can't go to every door all the time at large.
Yeah. Now, when you and I were up here together 2 years ago, we talked about the city council president. I don't want to get ahead of anything, but do you have any sense? You ran 2 years ago to be city council president.
Yes.
Came close.
Yes.
Any thoughts about January 1st?
So I've talked to many of the other electees, and I've said that there are three things that I would like to talk to them all about, which is the leadership of the council. And the three steps toward that is, what's the most important choice for the council? What's the most important choice for the voters who elected us, whether it's a ward or at large? And third, what's the most important thing for each individual, and what strengths do they bring? And everyone shook their head and said, yes, that's what we should have that discussion. So we'll have that discussion.
Well, that sounds productive.
Let's hope so.
What are some of the big issues coming forward in this next term?
There are two big issues confronting the city council. They're before us right now, and they won't be decided until next term. The major project application for the development of Fuller School, and in particular, the applicant's desire to not provide for the affordable housing allotment under the ordinance, but to say that they have a hardship if they were to provide 30 units of affordable housing, and therefore they like to just make a contribution to the city's Affordable Housing Trust. That's going to be a huge decision. the rest of the major project is, of course, a big decision. There's a lot going on with that project, but it's the housing thing that's going to be huge, and we're going to have a lot of wisdom about that, because there are very strong passions in the city about providing for affordable housing, and I see you have the housing production plan right here.
I show it again to the folks at home.
Very important. The second thing is the siting, with a siting of the retail marijuana outlets. We have to make a decision as a city about the zoning applications. We can't stop retail outlets from coming to the city unless we go back to the voters.
I thought there was going to be a ballot. I thought there was some talk about a ballot question.
There could be a year from now. But again, the current city council has extended the state deadline. We have passed a moratorium, so we do not have to have our ordinance done by July 1st of 2018. We have until December of 2018. That gives us through the next election cycle to decide whether the voters would like another bite at the apple or not.
And what do you enjoy about being a city councilor? It strikes me as a particularly thankless job.
Well, it's not a thankless job because there's a lot of work and you have to do your homework, and if you don't do your homework, then you're not serving the people very well. But what's thankful about it is that, these issues that we deal with, some of them are small, like dog leash laws and flower beds and so forth.
The leash law is not small.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Not small.
And some of them are big, like this affordable housing. But on every one of them, people really care about the outcome, and as local government, we actually can influence the outcome in a fairly short period of time. So that's what I like about city government.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And congratulations tonight.
Thanks very much.
I'm real happy for you.
Well, thank you.
Maureen?
Congratulations, Paul. Down on the floor with Heidi, we have Jamie OHara.
Here I am with Jamie OHara. Jamie, still on the city council, victorious again. Tell me, what do you have in store for your next term?
Well, first I want to thank the residents, taxpayers of Gloucester for electing me for a second term. I'm honored. I want to thank all the candidates. Obviously, someone had to lose, and we lost some fine councilors who've done great service to the city, and I hope they continue to work on city boards and committees, and hopefully they're back here in another 2 years, because they all deserve the opportunity, and it's great that the taxpayers had so many candidates to select from, because everyone brought something to the table. But going ahead, obviously, we've got huge issues. It's a beautiful city with problems that we all know of. They're no secrets. I think the administration is working hard to help the residents, taxpayers of our city, keep taxes, water and sewer rates from escalating out of control. Obviously, the emergency services are a huge part of my campaign, and I honestly believe that should be the highest priority of our city, to provide emergency services to everybody. Our schools have to be looked at as far as replacement, where they go. That's another big question that the school committee has to address, and the council has to chime in on it. So with that, I think that's but we have other smaller ones that the beach and visitor traffic, dogs, trash, everything. It's everything. Everyone in my campaign, as far as knocking on doors, I can honestly say I probably knocked on doors more than anybody, and everyone has an issue in their neighborhood, in their street, and they all deserve to have representation at City Hall, and hopefully we can come up with not necessarily a cure to everything, but help the citizens of Gloucester, because that's why I'm here, is to help the taxpayers, citizens. So.
Well, I'm glad you've got another term, Jamie OHara, so congratulations, and keep working for the city of Gloucester. So thank you. Now I am going to toss it back up to the stage. I believe Meredith and Maureen have a guest.
Thanks, Heidi. We do have a guest, the lovely Margaret Ferrante, who's not on the ballot this election night, but has joined us here at Gloucester City Hall.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
One thing I wanted to talk about, if you don't mind,
absolutely,
is some of the recent losses amongst our city councilors, Gus Foote and Lee Kennedy, and also Dan Roberti.
Yes.
But I was so sorry to see Lee Kennedy's obituary in today's paper.
Yeah.
And, these are guys, and this is what I want to talk to you about. You could fight like heck with them, and then go out after down to Cameron's for a drink, and it was fine. Talk about a little bit about the political culture at on Beacon Hill and here in town. And
Well, I think it's interesting. I love the legislative partner that I have in Bruce Tarr. And as a matter of fact, he and I have been ribbing each other down on the City Hall floor a little bit about some of the results and some of the trends we're seeing, not just in Gloucester, but statewide, and that's how it should be. Politics should be about doing the best that you can for your constituency, and, we can have differences, but they shouldn't be all-out wars. They can be debates, as, the Greeks like to debate often and get right into the details of it and the structure of it. But when the debate was over, it was over, and you still came together for the common good. And that's, Lee, my Uncle John Giglone and Gus Foote used to fight terribly and debate terribly during the city council debates. And when my uncle passed...
Gus kept a bottle of nitroglycerin in his table here.
Yeah,
He did.
yeah, and when my Uncle John passed, Gus Foote was the first one to show up at the wake. He actually waited outside the door, and I said, "Oh, Gus, come on in." And I thought it was because he was frail himself at the time. But it wasn't. What it was is he wanted our family to know he so respected my uncle, even though they debated all the time, that he wanted to be the first one there. And, I feel deeply for the Foote family and for the Kennedy family. I went to school with Emily Kennedy, Lee's daughter, and I also went to school with some of the Foote children, and I grieve for them. But I saw something on Facebook where Emily Kennedy wrote on Darlene Foote's page, and she said, when my dad passed away, I'm sure when he went up to heaven, he saw Gus and said, "Oh, good, you're here. You buy in the first round, right?" So it's that kind of camaraderie that I hope the council has, and it's what we try to do up on Beacon Hill. Again, I really and truly love serving with Brad Hill and Bruce Tarr, even though we're in opposite parties.
One of the things that I'm not sure the local folks may fully appreciate is that you're in the leadership of the House.
Yes.
That you're helping to run the show and set the agenda there.
Yes.
And you're a statewide figure. You go around the state and you promote the things that you care about, and you fight like heck for fishing and so forth.
Yes.
And yet you're here all the time doing the local stuff.
Yes. Well, the local comes first and is the most important to me.
Yeah.
But beyond all else, I want to make sure that my constituents have a seat at the table. And that's been the best part of leadership for me this year, is once a week I'm one of 9 people who meet with the Speaker of the House. And every time it comes time for me to speak, I bring the concerns that I'm hearing here in Gloucester, Rockport, and Essex to the State House, which is really important, because I would be one of the people who would say sometimes it can be a little slanted towards the big cities, to New Bedford, to Springfield, to Boston, and just making sure that a town the size of Gloucester, or when you get even smaller to Rockport and Essex, still has a voice at the table, and that's important to me.
Are you seeing anything noteworthy around the state tonight, or has it been relatively quiet? It seems like it's kind of a quiet season all around.
It's kind of a quiet season, although just hearkening back to the President's inauguration and the march that happened in Massachusetts immediately afterward at the Boston Common, we've been trying to see how that would translate into voting numbers, and I don't think that it's a surprise that you see Melissa Cox doing really well and Jen Holmgren.
That's interesting.
And I think, and I've seen it in my office, there's a lot of groups that have sprung up that want to talk to me, and a lot of it's born out of that activism that we saw the day after. So statewide, we're seeing this trend of people who were inspired after that march to become more active at the voting box and in the political process.
And what are some of the priorities that you're working on right now?
So tomorrow I'll be at the State House, and we're going to be voting on a bill that will mandate contraceptive coverage for women in all insurance plans offered in Massachusetts. So the most important thing to me right now is, as Congress goes back and forth on whether they're going to change the Affordable Care Act or not. It's important to me that those of us in Massachusetts who have coverage, and I think that both Republicans and Democrats in Massachusetts have done a good job to make sure that, well over 96% of our population is covered, that nobody loses that coverage. So it's been really interesting to watch all of the debate in Washington and to make sure that as that comes down into the state level, that we're really protective of our seniors, we're really protective of those who have chronic illnesses and are dependent upon insurance coverage, that we're watching out for the disabled, and that we continue to keep those core values that are important to us here in Gloucester, Rockport, and Essex, but also in Massachusetts.
That's great. And is there anything that you'd like to say to the folks at home?
I'm just really impressed. We thought it would be a lower turnout than it was tonight. I'm very impressed at the numbers of people that came out and took this election very seriously and deliberated and voted in the numbers that they did. And I just want to thank the voters for tuning in tonight, for staying up on all of the issues and making the effort to go to the ballot box to make their opinions known.
Well, thanks for stopping by.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Nice
for
to
having
see
me
you.
here tonight. Nice
Sure.
to see you too. Thank you.
Maureen?
Thanks, Ann Margaret. Thanks, Ann Margaret, for stopping by. It was wonderful to hear that report on the statewide issues and trends. I do believe we have James Pope, the City of Gloucester's IT Director, with Heidi. Heidi.
Well, here I am with kind of the unsung hero of the election, I believe, James Pope. So he is responsible. He's the Director of Information Services. What does that mean, James Pope?
So my department is responsible for end-user computing, all enterprise systems, security around water sewer networks and city networks. So if it plugs into a wall, it's generally my department's problem.
So tell me, how do you feel technology-wise this year for the election? How do you feel you upgraded from last year?
That's right. Well, 2 years ago, last election,
Right,
2 years ago, we did do the projector and automatic totals, which was new 2 years ago over the whiteboard. This year, it was enough of a success that we decided to ditch the whiteboard and just went with, relied on a projector and a laptop, little automatic totals and running percentages, kind of move things along a little bit more. And Lucy Sheehan, who's been writing on the whiteboard for years now, was very happy that we'd finally retired it.
Now, can you give us some numbers with the election about voter turnout? And since you are the numbers guy, okay.
That's right. So, as I understand it from Marie Giambanco, who runs these elections, we had just under 6,300 votes cast. Still, out of 21,000 registered voters in the city of Gloucester, 6,300 is not bad for a election with a limited amount of races. But all in all, it was a success. We wrapped it up pretty quickly, and I think it went well.
Yeah, the results, everything came in really quickly. If that was you, you did an amazing job.
A huge team effort of volunteers and city employees. I just had to punch three-digit numbers into a spreadsheet without screwing up. That's all I had to do.
Oh, really? That's all? Wow, boy, you have a good job, James Pope. Wow. Well, anything in store for the next election? You're gonna unveil, wow us.
2 years from now, hope and dreams. Kairos is supposed to be getting some AV upgrades, and I probably said that 2 years ago as well, and I might say it 2 years from now. But 2 years from now, hopefully we have some AV upgrades, new cameras for Cape Ann TV, and new projectors for the auditorium, making it a lot easier for a group of people to see what's going on.
Thank you, James. Thanks for bringing us into, the next century. All right. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. All right, now I'm going to send it up. I think there's a special guest up on the stage now.
Yes, indeed, Heidi. We have another special guest, the Honorable Bruce Tarr. Bruce, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. It's great to be here, and I think the three of us are going to shut down City Hall tonight. I'm not sure.
It's last call. Bruce is our state senator and also the minority leader in the Senate.
Yes, indeed.
And so a busy man.
Well, it's a busy time in the Senate right now. We're actually in the middle of sort of the home stretch between now and the end of formal sessions on the 15th of this month, and tomorrow we're beginning debate on a health care reform bill, which has a lot of complexity to it, and so we're in the middle of one of our busiest times.
And how fortunate, our state rep Ann Margaret Ferrante was just up here, to have both of you in the leadership of your respective houses. What does that mean for Cape Ann?
Well, it means that we play active leadership roles in both chambers and in both parties, and it means that if we work together as a partnership, which we always have, that Cape Ann has a lot of leverage in the political process, because both of us are at the table, and we always have Cape Ann in our front of our mind, and so we're working to try to advance the same goals, and maybe sometimes through different paths, but we both know where we want to go, and we both know how to get there, working through the process.
And what does the minority leader of the Senate do?
Well, that's a big question, Meredith. So the minority leader of the Senate is responsible for developing the agenda that the minority party in the Senate will advocate for and leading floor debate. And I, since I took over as minority leader a few years ago, have always made it a part of my description of the role is to say to try to find common ground with the majority party when we can. And when I was sworn in as minority leader, I made a commitment to a couple of things. One was that we would never fail to find common ground if we could. The second one was that we would always be honest about our opinions and never hold back what we thought was the honest truth about a particular issue. But the third part of that was that we always said that we'd be respectful when we did it, so that if we have a disagreement on an issue, it's a respectful disagreement. We make our case, we take our votes, and we move on. And I think the Senate ought to be operated in that way, and I think it does operate that way. And a lot of thanks to Senate President Stan Rosenberg for his partnership in that venture with me.
And has what appears to be the chaos and the divisiveness on the national level, does that percolate down to the state level, or have we been sort of insulated from that?
I think we are insulated because I think we find a way to work together even when we disagree. But I will say we're not completely insulated from it because we are influenced by the decisions that are made at the federal level. So, for instance, a couple of attempts at health care bills that have been made would have been very detrimental to Massachusetts. And so we all looked at those with some fear and anxiety about the impact that they might have. The same is true right now, where there's a federal tax revamp being discussed, and we're concerned about some of the impacts of that. So we don't live in a world where we're so insular that we don't have to worry about what happens in Washington, but what we try to do on Beacon Hill is work in a way that leads by example and shows that we can have differences of opinion but still find ways to work together.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the folks at home?
Well,
those hardy folks who have stuck through to this point of the broadcast?
If you're still watching now, you truly have an addiction to politics, and we thank you for it. But I would just...
After this, C-SPAN's on.
I want to take a moment to just say thank you to all the people that worked in the polls today. Right. You know, sometimes we forget that if it were not for them, we wouldn't have the ability to exercise our rights and to be able to participate in this democracy. And obviously, we would have liked to have seen a higher turnout on this particular day, but those folks show up, regardless of what the turnout is, prepared to make sure that we can exercise our rights. And I know sometimes it can be a little bit boring, it can be a little bit tedious, and I just want to say thanks to them because we all really appreciate what they do. And when you think about it, from the city clerk on down, they protect the integrity of the electoral process. And without that, our democracy wouldn't be viable. And so it's very important, I think, to thank them.
Well said. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Meredith.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
very much. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I think we'll go right now to Heidi for some final thoughts from the floor.
Hey, yes, here I am, lonely girl down here all alone on the City Hall floor. Everyone has gone home, and it was a wonderful night here. It was a great turnout here in City Hall, despite the fact the election, there were not many highly contested elections. I think it really shows the city of Gloucester, how the people in the city of Gloucester care about Gloucester and care about city government. And I think it shows a lot, too, that to have Anne, Margaret, and Bruce here today, too. Really shows a lot about people's commitment. But I want to thank everyone for watching us out there again. I want to thank Lisa Smith for keeping everything rolling down here with the guests, and my own personal bodyguard / bouncer, Brian, who was out there in the crowd helping. And Meredith, it was great to work with you again, and Maureen, great to add you to the team. Welcome to the team, Maureen. So.
Thanks so much, Heidi. It's been a real pleasure. I want to just bring it over to Meredith right now for a final wrap of election results. And Meredith.
Thank you, Maureen. First of all, I want to thank Mike Ronan for this fabulous election sheet that he puts out every year. So helpful. Just a final wrap-up of the results tonight. Mayor Safathia Romeo-Taken has handily defeated her opponent, 86% to 10%. The following city councilors were re-elected without opposition: Scott Memhard in Ward 1, Steve LeBlanc in Ward 3, Val Gilman in Ward 4, and Sean Nolan in Ward 5. In Ward 2, Ken Hecht defeated Joe Gigaloni, 58% to 41%. On the school committee, all of the incumbents were re-elected: Melissa Teixeira, Joel Favaza, Michelle Sweet, Tony Gross, Kathy Clancy, and Jonathan Pope. And lastly, on the hotly contested race for councilor at large, the following 4 people were elected to the city council at large: Melissa Cox, Paul Lundberg, Jen Holmgren, and Jamie OHara Jr. I just want to thank Maureen and Heidi for doing such a fantastic job, to the entire crew here at Cape Ann TV. It's really been a privilege tonight to be part of this coverage.
I agree, Meredith. Thank you so much. And Heidi, thank you for all that wonderful floor correspondence and all those interviews. Thank you so much to our viewers who tuned in to the live coverage here on Cape Ann Report this evening for the 2017 coverage of election night. I do want to thank our Cape Ann TV crew, and that includes Eric Archer, the Executive Director of Cape Ann TV, Lisa Smith, Becky Tober, and Jim Capello, our camera people, David Lufkin, Shams Hashmi, and Brian Enos. And other thanks go to James Pope, the City of Gloucester's IT Director, and the City Clerk's Office, Joanne Senos. I'm Maureen Aylward. Thanks for tuning in. Until the next election night, take care.